All right, folks, I'm back with 𝗏𝗏𝗏. I'm back with 𝗏𝗏𝗏, and I know a lot of you are upset that some of these predictions didn't come to pass, or did they? There's some things here. I'm going to play devil's advocate with Bo today, and get to the bottom of this. But there's some interesting things coming to pass that we talked about before I started recording. But first, folks, trim. You want to get trim? Trim with Nino, baby. According to the CDC, 73.6% of adults are overweight, and a further 40% of those adults are obese. It's a huge problem, folks. I have to deal with it every time I'm on an airplane. This is why I highly recommend including this amazing supplement into your daily routine. It contains naturally sourced ingredients from Mother Earth to support weight loss. I got some bottles of it, and I'm using it right now, folks. Its main ingredient is called conjugated ionic acid, or CLA. I may have mispronounced that for short, which has been shown to reduce fat storage while speeding up fat breakdown. The CLA in it essentially hinders the body's ability to store fat in favor of supporting the body's ability to burn fat. I've been taking these pills, folks. I'm going to try to drop 20 pounds. I'm going for it. Try today for 51% off plus several additional free bonuses. Order today by going to Trim with Nino, folks. Trim with Nino. It's in the description box. Hit the description, hit the link, and get started on losing some weight. All right, Bo. Ding, ding, ding. It's time. State your case. You got to state your case. How are you?
Sure, no, absolutely. Thanks for having me back. You have you've got an anointing on you. You don't realize it yet, but God's using you. So thank you for having me back.
I gotta say, man, I feel very privileged just to have seen and witnessed what happened with The Sound of Freedom. I mean, I've been behind the scenes with this movie for a long time, just behind the scenes, like a fly on the wall, listening to everything going down, from is it going to be made to, Jim called me when he was going to play 𝗵𝗏𝗏𝗏, to actually playing that role, to the fact that nobody wanted it. Disney was going to put it on the shelf. It was never going to see the light of day. And I would tell Jim, dude, this is all God. It's going to happen. And for what's happening right now, to watch it transpire the way it did with Jim, getting into the Patriot community, making the rounds in social media, I think that is what kicked off the movie. And everything that's happening right now, number one at the box office, is just a miracle, man.
Oh, absolutely. And here's the thing I want you to, again, we want to talk about this. What do I do? I'm not a prophet, but what God's anointed me to do is to calculate his time from a biblical perspective. And so you're talking about Jim Caviezel's movie. Well, think about when it came out July 4th. Why is that so important? Because in our last interview, I said the transition point where things are going to start and evil is going to completely start to lose control is from the week of the 25th of June onwards. And look what happened. So you've got what happened on the week of the 25th now is the summer solstice. Well, that at that exact point in time, like how incredible, but that's, forever they have been trying to link Biden, and he's always like, 45 is like, 46 keeps saying, I don't have any, relationship with my son and his business dealings, right? But what happened the week of the 25th, and the day after the summer solstice? The summer solstice was the 21st. On the 22nd, Joe Biden was finally linked to China with that text that came out. Okay, as little or as huge as that, that's huge, because forever they have not been able to link him to China, or specifically to the business.
So now he's linked. You're saying that happened right after the summer solstice?
It happened on June 22nd.
But I thought we were supposed to see disease, like die-offs, massive die-offs, and then God was going to come in and right every wrong, and then we're going to be in victory right now. I thought that's what was supposed to happen right now. I thought there was supposed to be a massive die-off. That's what you said on my show.
Yeah, no, and I will attest that. Again, my thoughts were that the angel of death could show up as that time window of the 1,260 days comes in at the end of June. Okay, but it didn't. That doesn't mean it's not going to happen. That just means it didn't happen at the end of June. But we're going to talk about today about why it's still going to happen, and why it's going to happen this year, because we did say in our last interview that we're going to have evil come to an end, full-on exposure, everything shifts in the year 2023 this year, and the pivotal turning point.
You're still banking on, you're saying this year.
Oh yeah,
this year.
absolutely.
It's going to be, but are you saying it's going to be over? We win, 𝗵𝗵𝗶𝗴𝗃.
Okay, so let me give you the example on what you're asking. Okay, when the boogeyman came on scene, you can edit from this point. When the boogeyman came on scene in January of 2020, think about this, right? So the first confirmed case of the boogeyman was on January 12th of 2020. However, the world's like, it was a nothing burger at the time, or was it? You see what I'm saying? But not only that, but then, so you have January, February, March. By the time March hit, the stock market collapsed 38%. A month later, the oil in April, oil went to zero or negative $38 a barrel, all after the turning point. You see what I'm saying? So January of 2020 was a massive worldwide turning point. That turning point is at an end as of the end of June, period. And it was marked with the text that came out that linked the current jackal in office to his son, therefore into China and the business dealings, okay? So that was a turning point. But in January of 2020, you're like, oh, no one's paying attention until 2 months later. You see what I'm saying? So the steering wheel turned as if this is a massive ship in January of 2020, and everything we know changed forever. As of January 2020, we just didn't know it until March.
Got you.
Are you with me?
I'm
So
with you.
the same thing's happening right now. The time window is at an end. These people are finished, and it was marked with the text that came out at the end of June. And then look what happened the week after. 𝗵𝗂𝗃𝗃𝗹𝘆 just coincidentally happens to have the movie come out and be #1 box hit right now. Why? Because we're in the window of time, which I call the
and that's where consciousness is going right now. I can really feel, and I'm sure my audience as well, we can feel this shift. People are waking up in droves, and this movie was a big part of it.
Absolutely. And so remember, let's simply look at the slide. If you can see the screen right here, this was the slide we had from the end of May. Okay, what did we say? December 12th, and then we specifically referenced the 1,260 days that starts in January 12th. First confirmed case, it goes to the end of June 25. Okay, my thought was, heck, if evil is going to come to an end, remember, I calculate time. If I reference an event, it's my guess, it's my opinion. Doesn't mean that nothing's changed. Okay, and so
Right.
The angel of death could have showed up, but he didn't. That doesn't mean he's not going to. Oh, trust me, he's going to show up, because the 4 prophets I referenced have spoken. The angel of death is going to strike evil. And so I listened to your podcast just a couple of days ago, that you were speaking, and I think your title of the podcast was with sound the alarm, right? And so as great as the information you provided in that podcast of sound the alarm, see, there's one piece of the puzzle that's missing in all of this and all of your intel. And the one piece of the puzzle is God. You see, so when God intervenes in a 24-hour window, everything that we think is going to happen will suddenly flip, and the exact opposite happens. No different than what happened when Jesus Christ died on the cross. 3 days later, he's resurrected, and he's back, and he's alive again, right? No difference than when Belshazzar drank from the golden vessels, and the writing on the wall appeared, 𝗵𝗵𝗍𝗃 𝗀𝗍𝗃. His kingdom came to an end that night. He died, and then King Darius came in and took over Babylon. So when God intervenes, it's a 24-hour window, and everything we know changes. So back to the June 25 time point, we've got
Can
a
I say something real
45-day
quick? I just
window.
cut in. Can I cut in just for a second? What's so
Please.
significant about this movie, The Sound of Freedom? I don't think people realize just how big this is, because this just drove a stake into the heart of the agenda, which they were trying to
Bingo.
push. Which is true. They were trying to push this P at the letter of the what, the whole pride thing, and now that has just, a stake has just been driven into the heart of that whole agenda. They are not, no matter how hard they try, are going to be able to accomplish this now. It's done. Like, now people are awake to these perverts in this, on this planet, how big this industry really is. It's like $125 billion a year industry, and growing. So now we know we're onto it now. So they're not going to be able to add that E that they've always wanted to add to that agenda. Am I right in saying that, Bo?
No, that's exactly right. Because what did I say? When evil's a time window comes to an end, everything we know changes and the deals start getting exposed. So what if everything that the 𝗵𝗂𝗃𝗹𝗆 movie describes basically was the deals done in the dark. Period. Okay. And the deals are what? In reference to money. See, it's about the money. It's the money system. I'm really going to talk about the money in a few seconds from now, but the money is the root of all evil, and specifically it's the love of it, right? And so the people that control the world right now, they don't like it. No, they love it, right? And so because of the money that they can create to infinity, don't believe me, go Google what Rothschild said in the 1800s. Allow me to control the money supply, and I could care less who makes its laws. Well, guess what? That when Nixon took us off the gold standard, they can create the money out of thin air. The Federal Reserve is not federal, not a reserve. It's a private banking institution of, I think, maybe 12 or 13 or whatever families that control the world. And basically they can create a money supply. So we'll talk about it in a second. But let's go back to the time window here, because this is really important for your viewers to kind of understand the timing, because God is a God of time and he's a God of seasons. Okay. And so June 25, the season changed. We got into summer. And the 45-day window is August 9th of 2023. So all I'm saying, there's going to be two strikes. In my heart, I believe there's going to be two strikes from God. The first strike will be an angel of death potential moment, I believe is going to happen. That might, because it's going to relate, this is going to echo the events of Exodus. And what happened at Exodus? It was very simple, right? First, the angel of death showed up, and then 25-ish days later, the Red Sea miracle happened and Pharaoh was destroyed. But first, the angel of death struck. So I believe that we're going to see an angel of death moment still in this 45-day window, or potentially before August 9th or into
Like
that August 9th.
a mass die-off?
Something's, again, and what happens, again, I don't know. I know the angel of death is going to strike this year.
Could it be the death of the dollar?
No, this is going to be the death of, so what happened in Exodus, right? So actually, let's go to that slide here, because I just updated a bunch of my slides here, and here's what happened, right? So Pharaoh refused to let God's people go. God brings on 10 plagues on Egypt, and the last as the angel of death. Israel was finally released from Pharaoh's bondage on Passover. In other words, so they were finally released, and it was called an angel of death moment. It was the angel of death that flipped the tables on everything. That was the game changer. So we're waiting for a game changer that's about to strike here. And so when you read Exodus 12, I'm going to read a few lines that I put in here. So what you read, and this is I find interesting about the lambs. Okay, so it says the lambs, take care of them until the 14th day of the month. Well, today's the 13th of July. Tomorrow is the 14th. So does something happen this weekend? I don't know, but this is what it states in Exodus: on the 14th day of the month, when all the members of the community of Israel must slaughter the lambs, at twilight. On the same night, I will pass through Egypt and take down every firstborn of both animals and of both people and animals, and I will bring judgment on all the gods of Egypt. So God's not gonna, he's coming after the gods of Egypt. He's coming after these evil ones, because remember, it's the spirits, it's not the people, it's they accepted evil. You know, they decided to work for evil. They have an evil spirit in them. So God's gonna go after the gods of Egypt. This is what's about to happen.
Also that when this, after the Sound of Freedom and in the Epstein Island, you know, the list gets out there and people of these perverts, there's going to be a lot of people. That's also going to be a mass die-off. What about that,
yes,
bro? Take that into consideration.
Right.
I've heard a lot of this. I'm just gonna.
No, and don't be surprised if we're going to see, because when the truth comes out, when the truth comes out of like right now, people want to throw up after seeing the Sound of Freedom, right? Because why? They're seeing what they're doing with what's been going on with the kids. And that's actually, I haven't seen it yet because I'm up in the mountains, but the point, I'll see it shortly. But the point is, you know, I'm sure the movie doesn't show it doesn't show any even close to the details of what really happens to these kids, but it gives enough like general information, enough that's going to want to make people sick of what's going on, right? So when the truth comes out about what's what's really happening and what's been going on for hundreds of years here, these people are finished, right? So don't be surprised when the truth comes out that forget the angel of death is going to change the playing field. Okay, so we're finally going to be freed from bondage. So that's going to be the great wealth transfer, because that's what happened with Egypt. But then the second thing, don't be surprised to start seeing people jumping out of buildings and everything else, right? And they're going to be turning on one another because they're going to try to protect their own hide, and they're going to say, hey, well, yeah, I know I did this, but you told me to, and no, and so
Exactly.
all the secrets starts popping off, right? So to answer your question, so I am the Lord God. When I see blood, I will pass over you. See, so the God's going to pass over Goshen, which is where Israel was. So he's not going to attack his people. The angel of death is going to go after them. So the angel of death moment is literally a moment where maybe hundreds of people are going to die for what they have done. They've sown seeds, evil seeds. God's had enough. And if you read Isaiah 61, the year of the Lord's favor, and there's the last line of the day of vengeance. God is love and judge. But at some point, the beginning point of wisdom is when you know that there's a God, right? And that's the beginning point of wisdom. And so these people literally have sold their soul to Satan, and God's about, he's had enough. He's given them 3.5 years. Like I said, it'll be for time times and a half a time, which is 3.5 years from when the boogeyman came out in January of 2020. It ended in June, the end of June, and then the texts come out, and now the steering wheel is turning. And then the first week of January, the 𝗵𝗲𝗄𝗏 movie comes out, and everybody starts freaking out because the truths are starting to pop out, and you can't go back. Now that this movie's out, Nino, you can't go back, because the movie's out and it's out of what they've been doing.
The secrets are revealed to everybody.
Yes, and that's just starting. It's just starting. Oh no, this is just starting, because we're about to see massive secrets get revealed here really, really shortly. And so I will pass over Goshen. That's what he did. And you are to eat unleavened bread from the 14th until the 21st, which is the next. So, like, is something crazy go down next week? I don't know, but I'm telling you, when you read Exodus, it talks about from the 14th of the month to the 21st of the month. And all I'm saying is that time window of 45 days is from the end of June until the 9th-ish of August, right? And then at midnight, the Lord struck down the firstborn of Egypt. For there was not a household without someone dead. So this is what's about to happen. God is going to intervene and change the playing field. And so I've talked about on our last podcast, summer's a mediator. Okay, well, what's happened so far? Think about this, right? So June 22nd, you got the text come out linking 46 to his son, therefore to the bribery. Then on the 30th, you got the SCOTUS case, Supreme Court, basically that takes a massive, so you got the ending of affirmative action in education. So they slammed evil's agenda. The Supreme Court, again, end of June, the big event. And the First Amendment, this is huge, because they wanted some people to make a cake for them. They said no way. And so that First Amendment was upheld. Okay, so see what I'm saying? All of this is changing. And then on July 4th, you got the Sound of Freedom come out. Okay, so there's the July 4th. And then 4 days later, you've got the Rothschild. Come on, the Rothschild family. They're the root of evil. Okay, this family is the one that basically stated, what do they state? In the 1800s, allow me to print the money, control the money supply, and I care not who makes its laws. So he's on there on July 8th on Fox News, on CNN, basically saying that this is
Don't see it.
Conspiracy deal going on. You see what I'm saying? So he's bashing it. And then just yesterday on the 12th, you got Matt Gaetz basically calling out and saying to Christopher Wray, the FBI director, saying that, calling about that he's protecting the Biden family, and he's literally attacking him. And that, why was he doing it on the yesterday? Because of the text that came out the week of the 25th.
Wow.
You see, so all the truths are popping off now. So we're in this time window right here of 45 days, which then leads us into everything we know is about to shift starting August into September. And so evil's agenda is now basically, summer's exposing everything, but we haven't seen a biblical event yet. There's going to be, what's a biblical event? Let me define it to you. It's something you can't explain. It's something that happens. It's so wild, like you can't explain it. Like, what was that? It's something that's supposed to happen that we cannot explain. So we know it must have been an act of God. And then from then that takes us into August onwards, so August 9th onwards, which is the next 3.5 years. So the evil agenda that these people have planned is at an end. It's transitioning through the summer of the mediator, and then that leads us to the next 3.5 years, which are not going to be bad years. So that's why I want to touch base on this, on some of your points that you had here, and I want to kind of just give maybe a little
so would you say like we've made that U-turn now, and now we're going, the shift has happened, and now we're going after them? Now it's like it's over for them. It's just going to keep getting worse and worse for them.
Yes, but it's not, but it's going to get so bad when God intervenes. You see, when God intervenes, it's going to be a strike that's going to be so powerful that you can't explain, and it's going to be so horrendous to them that there's this massive something happens. So compare that to, again, all I know is that 4 prophets have spoken, the angel of death is on the earth. What does that mean? I don't know, but I do explain to you earlier what happened at Exodus, that literally God struck evil and took out the firstborn. So who's he going to strike this time? But the angel of death is going to strike somebody, and something biblical is about to manifest. And that's going to basically start, as much as we're just starting to turn, when God intervenes. It's actually, yes, this is a good example. You stated in that interview that in the podcast that you did on the 11th, that you described it like this. It goes like this, and then like straight like that.
Mm-hmm.
Events going to go like this. They're going like this, and then straight.
Oh, you're holding me to it.
Okay?
It is true. It is what I'm getting. That is exactly the intel I'm getting.
And so that straight vertical moment is when God intervenes. You see, when there's going to be something that happens that everything just goes vertical, and you can't. You're just going to go, what the heck is going on? And so what you described with this thing going like this and then straight vertical, it's something insanely powerful happens, manifests on this earth that changes the playing field. And so then it starts to get really crazy. And you say crazy, folks, things are going to get crazy, folks. So let's talk about, and let's I want to read John 10:10 to you, because I want your viewers to have a different perspective in addition to what many of your viewers are providing you. Okay. And so John 10:10 states very clearly, the thief, meaning evil, comes to kill, steal, and destroy. Okay, so scare you, freak you out. They want to control you, because if they scare you enough, you give up your rights. It's all about scaring people and giving up your rights. Because ultimately, what do they want to do? They want to destroy the Constitution, right? And so what does God do? But Jesus Christ says, "But I come that they might have life, that you might have life, and life more abundantly." So Jesus Christ is the good news. You see what I'm saying? Evil brings the bad news. Evil brings the fear, the destruction, the wars, but Jesus Christ brings the good news. And so I want to bring the good news, because you read the Bible, it's ultimately, there's a lot of crazy stuff in there, a lot of evil stuff in there, but the Bible is the good news. So there is good news. So some of your points, and then maybe add on this or ask questions if you want, but we say more bank failures. And then these they're getting ready to pull the plug on the banks, and the banks are going to go, and they're going to gobble up all the smaller banks. See, so that's their agenda, and I agree with you. Okay, but what happens is when God intervenes, the banks blow up.
Got you. Okay.
Okay. You see, so and again, let's actually talk about this for just a second. I want to share this screen here, because actually just talk about this, because this is important to understand. We're talking about an empire of evil, a worldwide syndicate. And don't believe me, look at what was it JFK before they assassinated him, right? What did he say? He called them the secret society, right? So and who are they? This to define them. This is the Rothschild, the global elite. This is specifically Mystery Babylon, that's written in the Bible. Okay, and Jesus Christ calls them and says, they are the fake Jews. So not the Jews, they're the fake Jews. They pretend to be Jews, but they're not. They're from the synagogue of Satan. That's Revelation 2, verse 8, I think, and 2, verse 9, or 3, verse 9. But basically, so let's talk back to the money system, because this is so important to understand. And then why, you in your podcast, you talk about, hey, people should buy, you have a sponsor, Noble Gold, right? Why should people be buying gold and silver? Well, let me explain, because this is really important. See, Mystery Babylon and why it's a mystery, because thousands of years ago, there was a prophecy of Nebuchadnezzar and Daniel that talked about Babylon, but it was a statue at the time. That statue has morphed into a mystery. So the statue still exists, but it's a mystery, because think about a stage and puppets, right? You can have puppets dancing, but there's people pulling the strings. And so the ones pulling the strings are the puppet masters. And so the ones on stage, you just don't know who the ones are pulling the strings are. That's why it's called a mystery. So it's Mystery Babylon. It's a worldwide syndicate of people pulling strings. And what are they pulling? Financial strings. So Mystery Babylon only exists because they have the ability to create money from nothing. They have convinced the world their money has value. And this unlimited money supply has allowed them to buy anyone and anything and everyone, to hide secrets and create war. You see? So if God intervenes, then you watch what's happening with the BRICS. I was probably the first one out there 2 years ago saying, watch, within 2 years, the US dollar is going to collapse. Why? Because Russia signed a military agreement with Saudi Arabia. And that was in August of 2021. So this August, next month, is 2 years. Why is that important? Because the only reason we have the petro, see, before there was the dollar backed by gold. Nixon took us off the gold standard in 71. 2 years later, so now for 2 years, the dollar really, it was just kind of floating out there. It didn't have anything attachment. 2 years later, they made a contract with the Saudis. So then the contract is very simple. You buy all the oil that's bought in the world has to be bought with the US dollar only. I'm going to use the word only, and we will give you military protection, period. Okay. Well, what happened 2 years ago to the exact day of when it was 50-year Nixon takes off the gold standard? On that exact day, Kabul fell. 9 days later, on the 24th of August, the Saudis signed a military contract with Russia. Well, wait a second. And I'm like, this is huge. But people are like, nothing, Burger. No, this is huge. Because why would Saudis, who have a contract with the superpower, need to sign a second one with Russia? You don't need it. But they obviously reneged on the contract. Why? Because 9 days ago, they abandoned their neighbors. And the Saudis like, well, wait a second here. Are you kidding me? You're going to abandon us next. So they go sign a contract with Russia. You see, so now you got the BRICS nations all coming in together, right? And so they're going to do God's will. And what's going to happen? We're going to see the destruction of the US dollar. The 2 year mark is this August. I'm just telling you, we are at, and the Saudi. So
that we could be looking at it this August.
Well, August, not on that. The Saudi contract was signed in July this month.
Wow.
It's 1973. So we're at, at a.
And I also know Mr. T cannot come in until this is collapsed. From my understanding.
That's what we talked about. Exactly. Yes, I see. We talked about that. See, that's why, so there's numerous prophets out there, including King-Clement, who basically said Trump's, Mr. T is going to have 2 terms. But again, he's not allowed to have that second term because there's a collapse coming. And it's not going to be on his watch because he's a builder. Like Jesus Christ was a carpenter, Trump's 45 is a builder. He comes back to rebuild what God destroys. And so in my heart, I believe he comes back late this fall, maybe November, maybe latest December.
Or maybe from my understanding, the military moves first and then that's kind of him, but it's the military, and then he gets put back in office later on in next year or something. Could that be possible?
Again. So now we're talking events. If you're like, hey, nothing, you didn't come back this year, Bo got it wrong. Okay, so my point is, I don't know. The mathematical calculations I'll show you in a few minutes all indicate a massive shift of events this November. And that's based on the same Daniel calculation, because from when 45 came to office, 1,260 days, oil went to zero, negative $38 a barrel. Okay. And then 150 days later, Ginsburg dies. And then right after that, Roe v. Wade's overturned. But 1,260 days, oil goes to negative $38 a barrel. The next 1,260-day window is this November. So something big happens late this November into December. Massive, massive shift within the United States and therefore the world, because the United States is leading the world. And remember, evil's agenda, a time window actually is up. Their time window is up. And so because
if all these events are happening this fall, what does next year look like to you?
Oh, hangings.
Wow.
We're going to see
what's happening. It's going to be justice. It's going to be.
Well, because what did Trump say? When I come back to office, I'm going to hire a council to go. to go when 45 said he said when I come back in office, I'm going to hire a council to do a legal true legal assessment of what went on over there, and this because the court system is corrupt. The as good as they are, they're still corrupt, and so and then that ties in. Remember our 2 podcasts ago we talked about the Purim and the blood moons, right? The story of Purim and Esther. And so the blood moon in March of next year, in the next 3, so 2024, 25, and 26, this has never happened before in history. Each Purim has a blood moon on it. And that's foreshadowing. Remember, that ties in directly with our 3.5-year window. It starts now.
Oh, and folks, if you're watching this, there might be some edits in this video because it's 𝗵𝗲𝗍𝗶, and I have to play by the rules on 𝗵𝗲𝗍𝗶. But I'll also put this up on Nino's Corner.tv. So I'm gonna put it on both, Bo.
Okay. Yeah. Hopefully
Make that clear for my audience.
Yeah, hopefully the unedited. Actually, in that case, if you can put the unedited version on your Nino's Corner, because I just, I'm trying to be cautious of what I say here. But
it's hard. I know it's hard.
Yeah. So do expect. So the next 3.5 years are going to be all I can give you a visual. As ugly and as horrible as things looked into the end of June, the next 3.5 years are going to be the exact opposite. Exact opposite. And so why? Because it's about the money system. So if their money were to suddenly crash, in other words, lose value, lose status of the world reserve currency, right? Their bribes would no longer work. Their secrets would be revealed. The war over there would end. You see, that's what has to happen is the collapse. So we're about to see something horrible. And as a sudden crash of their money will be followed by bank runs. So we're going to see bank runs this year.
Yes.
Okay. And what's a bank run? And let me explain what a bank run is. So they've created money out of, so in 1971, when Nixon took us off the gold standard, there in circulation, there was only about 500 million, or it was less than $1 trillion. Okay, when Nixon took us off the gold standard. Now we're in the quadrillions, which means that you'd have to cut down pretty much every single tree in the world to create enough paper currency to allocate for the digits that they've created. So a bank run is very simple. When the people run into the bank to get their cash out, after about maybe the 3rd or 4th person, there's no more cash in the bank. And then when it goes across to every single bank in the United States that there's no more cash in the bank, the world's going to very soon realize that the money was created out of thin air, and it's just digits. You see, that's why they want to bring on the central bank digital currency, because they have to hide the fact of how much money they created. They have to hide that.
Do you say that it's just going to be America that gets saved, or do you think the entire planet is going to be taken out of the cusp, or taken out of the grasp of the globalists? Or because I've heard that it's just going to be America that the reins get pulled into. That we pull back the reins in America, we get a foothold here, but yet the rest of the world still falls into this globalist control.
Great questions, and let's address that. Okay, so to finish on my last sentence here, so when the money's created out of thin air, it has no value. So the world's going to find out the money has no value, and Mystery Babylon can no longer exist if their dollar crashes. That will be the fall of Mystery Babylon. So what's about to happen is the United States is about to be or go broke. It's the financial system is about to go broke, and many people are going to realize this, and they're going to consider that a horrible event. This is going to be horrible, right? But those are the ones that are asleep and have not listened to, for example, you and your, preliminary podcast of, invest in God's money, Haggai 2, verse 8, the silver and the gold are mine, saith the Lord, right? And so you tell your viewers, hey, invest in precious metals. Why? Because I'm just telling you why, because it's God's money. So when God flips the financial scales, why do you want to hold his money? Because God's in charge. See, as much as there's evil and everything going on in the world, God knew what they're going to do. You don't believe me? The prophecy of Daniel is 2,500 years old. Every piece of it's happened so far, except the last piece, the fall of Babylon, Daniel 2, verse 34. And while you were watching, a stone carved out by no human hand. So we get to watch this. And a stone carved out by no human hand, meaning God is going to do it, comes in and destroys Babylon. So to answer your question that you're asking earlier in reference to, how the United States and how you see this playing out, or what you're hearing, a couple of points that you brought up here, and I'd like to address is, you're basically saying from what you're seeing is, there's going to be okay, so a couple of your points here. So the banks are going to fall. I'm telling you, the banking system is going to be a problem because they're going to get exposed and they're the ones going to collapse. And this is what's going to be called the Jubilee. And the Jubilee specifically is a destruction of the banks and release from bondage, a release from debts. So this is the collapse of the banking system. You've stated also that UFO sightings are going to be exposed and going to be a lot of UFO sightings are going to be exposed or things be talking about them on the news and everything. Well, why? Okay. See, when you understand, UFO technology is anti-gravity technology. It's basically it's when an object is magnetized and it repels off the Earth. And so basically this is free energy, free technology. That's that's a godly technology that's been hidden from us. And so it's been hidden from us. They've used the trillions of dollars to hide this technology and create it. So when the truth gets exposed, the dollar collapses, they can no longer hide the secrets. And that's also why you're going to start seeing exposure of the UFOs, because the UFOs are the secrets, right? So they start getting revealed. So that's why you start seeing a massive amount of information coming out about UFOs. And the UFO thing ultimately is a bad thing because these are alien demons, but these are something in the future. So I wanted to address that later because what you see happening is coming, but in the future. So there's also, you talk about the white hat's objective is to pull back the reins in America and get control once again. But your travel is going to be limited because you need. So this is the thing I want to add to that, right? See, the white hats, who are they? That's the point, right? As much as we can reference these, this good, agenda of people, they are not. I'm very clear here. There's no way that these white hats can take on a worldwide syndicate that's 6,000 years old.
It has to be
right. And see, so the white hats have an agenda. They're doing the white hats have an agenda. They're doing a bunch of great things, and whoever. But there might be also infiltrated people wearing, working for the black hats in the white hat group. Saying it's everything's infiltrated. That's the problem, right? There's only one truth, and that's Jesus Christ. That's God. That's the Holy Spirit. That's the only truth. And that's so. As much as there might be an agenda. Hey, let's do this and that. The problem is no one's stopping this worldwide syndicate unless God intervenes. But what does God do? He shows up when there is no other way. And the point I was explaining in the last show is if God didn't show up at the Red Sea today, there would be no Israel. But in the mid 24 hours, the exact opposite happened. Egypt was destroyed. They've never been a superpower ever since. And Israel was freed, the Red Sea closed, and there is no one chasing them anymore. That's what's about to happen. The exact opposite when God intervenes. And also, you have to understand, Egypt chased Israel into the Red Sea. That's how stupid evil was, because of the arrogance. See, these people have complete arrogance right now, but they are nothing doing but they're doing one thing. They're walking right into God's trap. They're walking right in. Just when they killed Jesus Christ, they walked into the trap. They killed him on Passover. That was the worst day of evil's life, because Jesus Christ became the second Adam, and he took away the sins of the world. You see, so there is a biblical event happening. As much as the white hats might have an agenda, who the heck knows who they are, and ultimately they're not going to succeed unless God intervenes. See, so there's going to be a biblical event where God intervenes that you cannot. Again, what's a biblical event? Something you can't explain. So that's coming. Okay, and then you also know the point about there's going to be another boogeyman that's going to be set across the world. Yes, but not yet. That'll be the fourth seal of Revelation. We're only at third seal right now. We're probably a few years out from that, because remember, the next 3.5 years that are coming, Nino, are exact opposite of what we.
So you think we're ways out on that one?
Yes, yeah. We're going to talk about that in a second, and then again, you saw the boogeyman and the social credit score again. Going to control your travel again. Not right now. Wrong time. That's because we have 3.5 years of glory coming. This 3.5 years are going to blow people's minds. Okay, and then the banking system, the commerce, the social control systems, the management of AI. That's years out. Because when God destroys the banking system, he's going to destroy the bankers. All of their plans come to a sudden end. So so to answer your question, America ends up being one of the greatest places to live, again, in the world during end times. Evil will never come back.
I've heard it's going to be like an oasis.
Yes, evil will never come back to the United States ever after God strikes. So because again, when God closes that Red Sea, which will happen this year, Evil's never coming back to the United States ever, because the world, people of the world will remember what the God of Israel, therefore the God of the United States, did to evil. And these people are going to flee. First, many will be destroyed. Others will be jumping from buildings. Many others will be, other whatever's going to be happening to them. There's going to be all kinds of, because when the parents find out what these people, what these teachers and how the school board's been doing to their kids, what's going to be coming? Oh, it's going to be so horrible. So I want to talk about, why this is the year of release. Okay, so let's go through this chart. This is a new slide. God gave me last night at 3 a.m. That's what I do. I get these in the morning, usually 3 a.m, and then I can't sleep. So I put this all together yesterday, and so this is the newest information, but this is really crazy because basically this ties in with back to 𝗵𝗂𝗃𝗃𝗃 and the blood of the blood. Okay, the cup is full, the glass is full. Okay, full of the blood.
All right, yeah.
Children. Okay, and so what happened? 1973 got Roe v. Wade becomes law. And this is the Shemitah cycle. So this is biblical, people. 7 years later, we have the hard recession begins in 1980. 87, the stock market crash. 94, the bond market crash. 2001, you got the stock market crash in 9/11. 7 years later, you got the stock market crash and the housing crash. 7 years later, 2015, you got the Black Monday crash on 8/24. 7 years later, last year, guess what happened? No crash. Why? Because Roe v. Wade was overturned. And what does the Bible say? On the 24th, the United States turned from their wicked ways by overturning Roe v. Wade. What happens when you turn from your wicked ways? I'm going to give you a scripture, Jonah 3, verse 10. When God saw that they did what they did and how they turned from their wicked ways, God relented and did not bring upon them destruction that he threatened. So the destruction never happened last year because we overturned Roe v. Wade. And that brings me into the super Shemitah, or the Jubilee. And so a Shemitah is every 7 years. The Jubilee is 7 times 7 is 49. And then that takes us into the 50th year, which is the Jubilee. The Jubilee started in September of last year, September 25. Remember, we said 9 months later was June 25. The new era is beginning to be birthed right now. And so the super Shemitah cycle it's a 50-year cycle. So that 50 years, I'm going to give us very specifics here. The 50 years started on September 25 of last year and ends this year, specifically on September 25 is Yom Kippur. I'm sorry.
Yom Kippur, okay.
No, let me backtrack. I actually want to correct that. There's this slide here. It ends on Elul 29. All of these events happened that I talked about here, the crashes, on Elul 29. This year, Elul 29 is September 15th. The day after starts year 51, which means that the Jubilee's over, which means that God intervened, which means that we saw the greatest move of God's Spirit in the history of the world between today, or June 25, and into September 15th. Something biblical is about to happen because that's what it states in the Bible. This is all scriptural. And then I'm going to read Leviticus 25, verses 9 through 10, because this is so important. Sound the trumpet. So you got the 10 days of awe starting September 15th into September 25. So the 10 days of awe, sound the trumpet on Yom Kippur, which this year is September 25. And here it is, and proclaim liberty throughout the land. It shall be a jubilee for you. So our world is about to, look at this. Look at this cycle of time. Every single crash, Nino, every single crash. And then now we're in year 50, 2023. This gives you like complete understanding of how this is about to play out. The blood is full, it's overflowing. The blood of Jesus is about to bring wrath upon this world and the evil satanic system. We're about to see the fall of Babylon in a single day. In a single day, this is about to go down. Now, this is really interesting. You're going to probably find this fascinating. God revealed this to me yesterday. I'm like, wow, this is crazy. So today is July 13th. Nino, 100 years to the day, the Hollywood sign was dedicated.
No way.
To the exact day, today.
So this is when they put up the Hollywood sign?
Yeah, 100 years ago, they dedicated it today, the 13th of July. The link's right here. How crazy is this?
That is so crazy.
So let me show you. So the star.
And then Sound of Freedom just destroyed Hollywood.
right. And then let me add this. Look at this. Okay, so the star. We see the star right here. The Hollywood stars. The Hollywood Walk of Fame. Right. You understand that's Baphomet. So the star. You can. The link is right here. First of the people that want this PDF presentation, just take your phone out, scan this QR code, and you'll be able to download this entire 130 plus page PDF presentation, of which we're probably going to go maybe 50 or 20 pages. Okay. So there's your QR code. Pause this and just scan that code. So let's go back to that screen. So check this out, Nino. So the star, click the link. It's right here. It's in Wikipedia. This is actually their star. The star is the sigil, S-I-G-I-L, sigil of Baphomet, is the official insignia of the Church of Satan. So the Hollywood stars are the official insignia, each one for the Church of Satan. This is, and then we got the red, the blood, the glass is full, the blood of the children. Guess what color the carpet is? Blood red. Like, this is crazy. So, and what is
see the actual sign get taken down?
Well, and what is Holly? Holly is a satanic, it's a witch's stick. So witches use holly to create spells. So so holly and wood, and so it's the stick is the Harry Potter stuff. So it's a witch's stick for creation of spells. So this is what's happened. So this is 100-year mark for Hollywood today. And then what do we read in Exodus 12 on the 14th day, which is tomorrow? Does something happen tomorrow? All I know is that something crazy is supposed to start between the 25th of June into the 9th of August. And that's only strike one. And then we just read earlier that thou shalt consecrate the 50th year and proclaim liberty throughout the land. Well, what do we say about that? The liberty throughout the land is what? Sound the trumpet. And that's Leviticus 25, 9, and 10. That's on the September 25th. So we're supposed to see another event. So whatever happens this summer, the mediator, whatever happens here as summer as the mediator is only a prelude of the second strike. The second strike, I believe, is going to be what, God would be correlated to what's called the Great Exodus, where the sea opened and closed and Pharaoh is destroyed, which means China would be destroyed because the present day pharaohs would be equivalent to China. And so China will never, ever have power ever again, just like Egypt. They're going to lose their strength, their power.
You see Bill Gates going to China?
Well, we're going to, the prophetic word for Bill Gates is first he loses all of his wealth and then he dies. No, then he hangs or dies.
Okay.
So many of these people are going to lose all the billionaires and trillionaires of this world. The prophetic word of most of them, they're going to lose all of their wealth. Because why? The wealth of the sinner is stored up for the righteous, the church. So their wealth is transferred to the church. The bride, us, the people, get all the money. Because what did I say? John 10:10. I come to bring you life more abundantly. God's going to bless his bride. He's going to bless his bride with finances. And so the billionaires lose everything. The wealth of this, that's Proverbs, the wealth of the sinner is stored up for the righteous. And actually, I forget the prophetic scripture now, and actually here it is. Proverbs 13:22 is what's going to manifest that. And then that leads us into the year of Jubilee. So we're going to see gold and silver do historic price moves starting now, sometime now, and then start into year end. Don't be surprised if we see a return to the gold standard, because someone's going to have to come back and rebuild a collapsed financial system. See, the financial system, when it collapses, like there's billions of people in the world, we still need to buy and transact and do things, right? And so, but we're going to come back to an honest money system, because in a kingdom economy, it's an honest money system. See, we're coming back to a kingdom economy, which is honest money, gold and silver, honest money. That's what's coming. And again, Roe v. Wade overturned on a biblical date. When you read, it's stated Haggai 1, it actually talks about when this was written 2,000 years ago, of when Roe v. Wade would be overturned. And so it's all about the blood. In the 50th year, the cup is now full. Because the cup is now full, God's going to intervene. This is the Jubilee year. We've talked about the time windows. So the year 51 starts in September 25, which means we'll sound the trumpet, because God just destroyed evil. So two strikes are coming. First event is going to happen this summer, and then the one that closes the Red Sea and literally finishes these people is going to be sometime in late September.
Wow.
This biblically is lining up.
Believe me, my audience is taking notes.
The financial system. Say again.
I said my audience, they're taking notes. They'll let they'll hold you accountable.
Well, all I'm doing is I'm doing the time calculations for you. Okay, so what are the key calculations? So the key calculations are right here. So the calculations from evil to good. So evil ended, their agenda came to an end, specifically on the 25th, and now the wheel is turning. The ship is turning. By August 9th, we should have seen some kind of biblical manifestation. Something happened. And then that now leads us into August and September 4th.
Gosh, I think even just the
August and September 4th is we're getting Elul 29. Look at all these stock crashes that happened on Elul 29, including 9/11. So right, everything that's happened there was which in this year would be September 15th. So a second biblical event. Say again.
I think even the movie The Sound of Freedom just coming out is in a massive blow. I mean, I think that in itself is just God's hand right there. I mean,
yes. And also just when you read First Kings, this is, the prophet Elijah come down and he challenged the prophets of Baal, and then he mocked them. And then God brought the fire down from heaven and destroyed the whole altar. Nino, that happened in the 3rd year. What year is this? 2023. The miracle at Mount Carmel happened in the 3rd year. So God's going to intervene in the 3rd year, this year. We're at the turn. The turn is here. The next 3.5 years are going to be peace on earth.
Everything you say adds up completely with a lot of my guests as well, Juanito being one of them.
Right, and I'm just adding a better understanding of time windows. And so in the financial, when they lose the money system that controls humanity, their bonds break, means their mortgages break. This is a release from bondage. So complete real estate collapse by next summer, complete, utter destruction of the bond system, the real estate system, complete destruction. The BRICS attacked it. The financial systems went from millions into quadrillions. Look at this. When all of this falls over, Nino, all that's left standing is gold and silver. And to give your viewers a little bit of understanding of cryptocurrencies, they will be important, because remember, the dollar was good until evil intervened in the dollar and took us off the gold standard. But at the beginning, the dollar had a correlation with gold, so it was honest money. It's when Nixon detached it is when it became evil money, right? So cryptocurrencies right now are not intervened by evil. They actually don't want them. They want to keep printing the US dollar to keep controlling and enslaving humanity. And so the cryptocurrencies, for a window of time, the ultimate money, gold and silver, because it's ultimate money. Period. No matter what happens in this beast system that's coming in the future, gold and silver are your ultimate money. On the other end, until the beast system rises, what's going to happen is digital currencies are going to be necessary, because maybe I want to send you, Nino, $100. I can click a button and it'll show up in your wallet in a flash of a second. Okay. And so the new transaction at distance will be cryptocurrencies, and it will be a wonderful means of transacting until the beast system rises. So let's talk about the beast system. The beast system is going to come, but in the future, because it's not yet. And so the time window for that is way in the future. You're basically looking at the next, so 23 into the end of the 2026, you're looking at glory. You're looking at the Esther, the Haman effect, what happened at Esther and the Purim, right? So we're going to see biblical intervention, but this is based from a timeline when 45 comes back to power. What we've got is 7 years of plenty coming. Then comes the beast system somewhere in 2030. But
so I'm right. I'm right in the sense that we are going to get a foothold.
Yes.
And pull the reins back. But then in 2027 to 2030, that's when it gets bad again. That's when it gets ugly again.
Yes, yes. So, and also just to confirm that, you Google, people can Google the agenda 2030.
Mm-hmm.
There's that agenda right now. There's that one. The first one they got. Now there's the next agenda, right? So this will be, and that will be the start of the famine.
So that will be.
It's cyclical, but also it's the good news, because when the famine comes, you see, there was no famine in Egypt because Joseph prepared for the coming famine. Get it? You see, so as evil, as horrendous as evil's agenda is in the future, we're not stopping Revelation. You can't stop Revelation, because if you look at what we're seeing right now is the horsemen. The first horse ran in January. That was the boogeyman. The second horse was peace taken from a world. Now it's the George Floyd riots break out. And then that we've had rioting go across the world since. The third seal of Revelation is the great financial wealth transfer, is the Great Awakening. So it's a couple, because when the financial tables flip, you get the Great Awakening. See, so they're bringing on the Great Reset, and that's what people think is going to happen. When God intervenes, there is no Great Reset. It's the Great Awakening, and that will ultimately tie in with the third seal of Revelation, and that also ties in. And this is actually to answer your question really clearly scripturally. You say, the United States will be a great place to live, but ultimately, the evil comes back, right? The beast comes back. You stated this in a couple of days ago. So where is that in the Bible? Well, if you read Revelation 13:11-12, and this is really important to understand. So the beast system right now controls humanity. When they come back, they lose all their gold, silver. They come back with no money. So the beast system is going to be what? Digital. Get it? Right? Mark of Bitcoin? No. Well, whatever it will be, but by that time we'll all be out of the cryptocurrencies, because because whether it's Bitcoin or not,
you're saying it's going to be the digital dollar.
Well, it'll be digital something, but this is the problem. The last thing that Obama signed when he left office was he turned over the internet to the United Nations. So you're going to need the thing on your arm or on your forehead that's written in Bible to log into the internet. So some people might be worth $1 billion in cash because of the great wealth transfer. They're going to have immense amounts of money, right? But they're going to need to have the chip. They're going to need to have the mark. But they're going to have whatever, they're going to need to have it in their arm or their forehead to log into the internet to have access to it. So that's why gold and silver are the ultimate money, always. Because there's no middleman. You don't need an internet. You don't need nothing. But those are things, the cryptocurrencies are an evil. No, they're fine right now. It's when the beast system takes effect in the future. And so where is that in the Bible? And so I'm going to read it slowly. Then I saw another beast. Okay, so the beast we're seeing right now is Mystery Babylon. So let's be really clear here. The beast we're seeing is Mystery Babylon. And so then I saw another beast rise out of the earth. It had 2 horns like a lamb, and it spoke like a dragon. It exercised all the authority of the first beast. So what we're seeing right now, the beast that rises will exercise all the authority of this first beast, Mystery Babylon, and here it is what you were saying the other day. And it makes the earth and its inhabitants worship this first beast, whose mortal wound was healed. See, so when God intervenes, the Red Sea miracle is the mortal death wound to the beast that currently controls the world, the worldwide enterprise, the the mystery Babylon. So that will be the death. The mortal wound will be the Red Sea miracle, when on the other side of the Red Sea, there was no one chasing Israel. Evil was finished. Okay. But like resurrection, we're going to see evil again. And again, why? Why would this happen? Well, because when you read the Bible, you're not stopping Revelation. See, what you're seeing is only the third seal here. Then you also said there's going to be another boogeyman comes out. You're right. That'll be the fourth seal. And that's death, famine, pestilence. So people say, oh, this was this boogeyman that we just saw across the world. That was a plague. Why don't you go Google what happened with the bubonic plague in Europe? A third of Europe died. There were people dead on the streets, okay? So understand, we did not witness a plague. Google and see what the bubonic plague did, okay? Right. And so that's the other boogeyman that you know is coming, but it's still to come. Not anywhere in the next 3.5 years, because the next 3.5 years is going to be awesome. Awesome. When Jesus Christ, this is why it's 3.5 years. When Jesus Christ, he came on the earth, he came with the fullness of time. He then lived on the earth, but then he got baptized and he walked into the temple and he read Isaiah 61. The year of the Lord's favor, and then and he never read the day of vengeance, but he read Isaiah 61 in the temple. And from that day forward, Nino, his ministry began. Guess how long his ministry was? 3.5 years. You see, so when Christ walked into the synagogue and he read Isaiah 61, after he was baptized, he read this. The Spirit, and now and again, I'm bringing the good news. The Spirit of the Lord God is upon me, because he has anointed me to bring the good news to the poor. He has sent me to comfort the brokenhearted. And to proclaim that the captives will be released and the prisoners will be freed. We're getting freedom from bondage, okay? The bonds are about to break. Mortgages are about to go away. Banks is about to collapse. And so why? Because to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor. And they didn't read this, because now it's the time for it. And the day of vengeance of our God. So Jesus Christ, the Holy Spirit, God the Father are about to intervene on this world. This is not the return of Christ. This is the glory of God manifesting on this earth, destroying and stopping evil in its tracks. And that specifically, Nino, is what is going to be tied in directly with the mortal wound, the fall of Mystery Babylon, and also the third seal of Revelation. And the third seal is the great financial transfer, the greatest financial event in human history. And why all this have to happen? Because then in the future, you still got the fifth seal. And remember, the first four are just 4 horsemen. Then there's fifth, sixth, and seventh seal. And you tell them what you want to, I'm not going to get into details. People can Google, they're in my slide deck. You want to talk, horrendous 100-pound hailstorms, a third of the animals disappear on the earth, a third of humanity disappears, a third of the land disappears. Okay, so these are things that are coming in the future. Okay, so anybody that's telling you that that we're now heading into a 1,000-year millennial reign, we haven't seen 100-pound hailstorms. We haven't seen a third of the land disappear. We haven't seen a third of the animals disappear, or the humanity. Okay, so there's so much that's missing in Revelation. So you're right. We get a evil, this evil system does come back. But this is the good news. Because of the wealth transfer, during this time, we're going to be in the world, not of it. We're going to be living in the wilderness, the mountains, separate of the world, with everything we possibly need financially.
So these will be coexisting.
Yeah, coexisting. Well, because it's biblical. We're going to be in the world, not of it. We're going to have because of all the finances about to come our way, even if those that don't have money to buy gold and silver right now, don't worry. Those, I think Juan actually said, or you said that, because of the money that's coming in, it's gonna bless all of those around you. So, those that have precious metals, you're going to get the money's going to go up so big, you'll be able to bless all of those around you. And what's going to happen is it's a release from bondage. So we get land returned to us, because that's what it is. And because it's actually all about the release from freedom and the return of the land. And where is that? That's scriptural. It's actually scriptural. It says, when we turn from our wicked ways, 2 Chronicles, if my people who are called by my name humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways. Well, we read that earlier, right? It happened in 2022. We turn from our wicked ways. Then what happens? Because it's if then. If my children turn from our wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and will forgive their sins. So God's going to forgive our sins and heal their land. So God's about to restore the land of the United States. So when it happens in the United States, don't worry, people, because everything, we're going to immediately start going after the rest of the globalists all across the world, and everything goes on complete reversal. If you basically take a clock in time, you literally stop the clock, and the clock is going to stop for the next 3.5 years. It's going to be fantastic, because Jesus Christ's ministry until he died on the cross was 3.5 years from the time he
as long as I've been sober.
Right. But if you don't have gold and silver, God's going to bless you and all those people, and then you'll be able to bless all those people around you, because the blessings that are coming are going to be so enormous, so intensely large, that you'll be able to do whatever you need financially to do what? There's one thing you want to do is build the kingdom, God's kingdom. And so you're going to be building that outside of this, you're not going to be doing it in the cities, and you're going to be doing outside the cities, building immense, awesome places. So when evil does come to power, it'll be no different than what happened during the last 7 years. Because remember, if you read Revelation, it's 7 years, the last 3. So Revelation, 7 years. The Great Tribulation is 7 years. The Great Tribulation is 7 years. So that directly correlates with 7-year famine. But what happens, right? During the famine, go back and study history. Egypt prepared for it because Joseph told them how to prepare. So the financial wealth transfer that's coming is going to be allow the bride, everybody, to prepare themselves for what's coming. So when the famine comes, there was no famine in Egypt. There was no bad stuff going on in Egypt. You were spared. And all of this is biblical. So we're going to be in the world, not of it, being spared. And these havens that will be places, there'll be areas of safety that in this world, Nino, they're going to be glorious. Swimming pools, jacuzzis, maybe golf, like all these incredibly awesome things and then massively all these people doing one thing, worshiping the Lord. Because what happened? Moses goes to Pharaoh, says, "Let my people go so they can go into the wilderness and worship me." That's biblical. So all the evil that's going to be on the earth, it'll be a choice. Choose this day whom you will serve. There will be those people who harden their hearts and literally don't want anything to do with God, even after. So when the glory manifests, there's going to be miracles, signs, and wonders. If
some
you were
people
sitting,
still won't believe.
Right. So we were at the We Awake in America tour. Imagine being there, right? And a gentleman comes in. I'm giving an example here. A gentleman comes in a wheelchair with no leg. And so, we witnessed this. The gentleman comes in, there's no leg, and then and he's on a wheelchair. And then we see a couple of people come over there and pray over this gentleman in the name of Jesus Christ. And you and I are sitting there watching his leg grow back.
Hold on. You witnessed this, or you're saying this?
No. I'm saying imagine. Because during the glory, when Jesus was on the earth, he was filled with the Holy Spirit and he was doing signs and wonders.
Right. Absolutely.
And when you read that, and so Haggai 2 verse 9 says, the latter rain will be greater than the former rain. I'm just quoting scripture, which means that we on this earth, the latter rain, will do what Jesus Christ and the apostles did, but greater. And they were bringing vision back to people. People were limp from the day they were born. All of a sudden, Jesus says, "Get up and walk." So my question back to you is: if you see a person walk in who's blind at a conference, and next thing you know, his vision comes back. If you see a guy at a conference and you see his leg actually grow back, it's going to freak you out, and you're going to tell anybody and everybody you know. My point is, that's what the glory does. It does things that are impossible. But in God's world, those things happen every day. Those things are normal. God operates in the impossible. And so as much as there are people on this earth that you interview and are very knowledgeable, they're of the worldly things. And so what's coming is a non-worldly thing for the same thing that happened at the Red Sea, because there was no way. Like everything you describe and you know is coming, there is no way, because these people are about to grab control of humanity and do what happened, do what Hitler did. You know, because actually it's interesting that actually I can bring that up, because when Hitler came to power, here it is right here. When Hitler came to power in 1933, at 100 years, 1933, 2033. So there is your that ties in directly when the Antichrist should probably come on scene, somewhere in that time window.
So we should be seeing the Antichrist from now until. So
right,
we're in the window. We are now in the window.
Right, well, because, and again, why this time window? Because when you look back to the slide deck I showed you here, you have the 7 years of famine, which starts somewhere when Agenda 2030 comes out, but then the Antichrist only has 3.5 years. He comes in the last 3.5 years.
Okay.
So that's somewhere at the end of 2030. Get it? And what a coincidence! What a coincidence that 100 years from when Hitler got power is exactly 2033. What a coincidence that you and I are doing an interview today about Hollywood sign is 100 years, and to the exact month, the 𝗵𝗂𝗶𝗃𝗹𝗆 movie comes out. Like, what a coincidence, right? I'm just showing you God is a God of time and seasons. I'm showing you the biblical timelines. I'm showing you that the 50-year Jubilee that I illustrated here, of every single 7 years, Nino, there was a crash, except for last year. Why was there no crash last year? Because we overturned Roe v. Wade. God gave us grace for a year. And now it's Shemitah time. Now it's the time for God to intervene upon our world. And so the fullness of 3.5 years is up. All of this time windows that God has revealed to me, it's crazy, but it all lines up perfectly when I calculate into the year 2027, 2030, 2033. Like it's incredible calculations that are coming to be. And then the other wild part is, people are, waiting. Hey, they're all hoping for, maybe, they're waiting for a manly, for man to do something. But in fact, God's going to do something. And if God does something, which he will, okay, then, people are thinking about, hey, the elections is an example, right? And so just gonna say about that. But if you do the math on it, the next one they're all we always talk about is 2024, right? Well, if 45 comes back to power this year, he gets 3.5 years, which means that, back to the timeline, there's no election until 2026.
Right. So you're going to say Mr. T comes back this fall?
This fall, right. He comes back this fall to rebuild the destruction. The cycle of a market crash cycle indicates a horrendous destruction of the markets in December. Okay, and so we could have him come back right afterwards to begin to rebuild what God destroyed. So remember, something shifting starts now into August 8th.
I definitely feel the shift. I'm going to say that.
So shifting's now.
I'm sure my audience does too.
But then also in the shifting, we're going to get that strange July. So something biblical is supposed to happen that we can't explain. That's all I can say. It's going to be something we can't explain. And then that takes us into September 15th, which is Elul 29, which is the end of the 50-year Jubilee, into September 25, which is Yom Kippur. You shall sound the trumpet, because victory throughout the land.
So massive change, July, August, going into September. Massive change.
Right, but a big event somewhere in the last between the middle of the 15th of September into about into the end of September, because that will be the 10 days of awe into September 25. So another, as big as the event or whatever happens now, like this summer, it'll be magnitudes bigger in September. It's only, so what happens now is only a prelude, but a little foreshadowing of the immenseness that's about to happen in September. And then that leads us into the 1260-day Trump cycle calculation.
I can imagine October, November, and December are going to be pretty crazy.
Yeah, exactly. And so by the end of the year, there should be such massive shift in the world, 180 degree, like it's going to be so obvious And so of what's
I
about
can
to
feel
happen
it.
into
I can
December.
feel it. I can definitely feel this. So, Bo, I just want to say thank you. Where can people find you?
Website is gold2020forecast.com. And then YouTube, you can just put my name in, Bo Polny, on YouTube, and you can find me there in my most recent videos. But
So when am I
I
going to
just
bring you
want
on again? When's a good time to bring you back on?
well, again, so let's have after August 9th, let's see what happens now into August 9th, maybe middle of August. But I want to see, if anything happens here in this 45-day window. And again, so now we're at a very important time point. We're 100 years to the mark for the Hollywood sign. Tomorrow is Exodus 12. Tomorrow, the 14th, is Exodus 12 into the 21st. And it's interesting. You got the Bohemian thing going on the 20th. Yeah. So I'm just saying we're at this really important window. What happens? I don't know. I'm just telling the window of time is critical into the important into the 9th of August. So I say maybe like middle of August, we come back and let's see what happened in this 45-day window. And then that's leading us into something historic that happens at the last 2 weeks of September. So whatever happens is nothing compared to, in this window of time into August 9th, is nothing compared to what's going to happen. Because when God intervenes completes this, when he intervenes, completes the patterns, the cycle here into the end of in the end of September. Wow. And then that leads us into crazy, massive events blown off October. And then November is the 𝗫𝗵𝗃𝗹𝗆 prophecy, hypnotic November. So, and then that calculates with the 1,260 days from oil going to negative $38 a barrel. And that literally lines up, I think, the first or second week of November. Wow. So that's a very powerful cycle of biblical timing. And then the 𝗫𝗵𝗃𝗹𝗆 prophecy says, and winter says, I will make you happy. So winter starts on the 21st of December. So don't be, and my markets cycle points to a possible massive finale crash into the end of the year of the market, so of the stock market. But first, I don't care about the stock market. What I care about is the collapse and the fall of the world's reserve currency, because why?
Mystery
Mystery
Babylon.
Babylon stands.
So I'm
Mystery
gonna name
Babylon.
this the fall
Yes.
of Mystery Babylon, a message of hope. How does that sound to you?
Yeah. Mystery Babylon, the world financial, the global elite exists because of the money system. So God is going to intervene and take down Mystery Babylon's money. And when that happens, gold and silver go crazy vertical. Cryptos go crazy vertical.
We're on the same page, basically,
everything.
on what's going to be happening here. You just kind of elaborated on what I said, sounding the alarm, and you put it in biblical terms. Like you gave the timeline to it, which I love. Thank you so much, Bo.
Yeah, I wanted to, on your word, I love what you said, and I wanted to give people the main thing about the Bible, the message of hope. Okay, God's not going to forsake you. He's not going to abandon you, and he's got you. God's in control.
Thank you, Bo, so much. I'll have you on after August 9th.
Sounds good.
God bless.
God bless you.